I think one day I'll I'll figure this thing out. But welcome to on the live stream. My little living room here on a balmy October 7th night here in Rhode Island. I'm Jim Plummer, and I'm the host of Rhode Island's Hidden History. Um, so a little bit about myself. I'm retired. I'm 66 years old. I think way back in junior high and high school, I might have had some interest in history. I liked U.S. history in 11th grade. I liked, you know, government stuff, and I liked the history courses and stuff, but I didn't know what I liked. I was in Scouts, and I liked the outdoors, and I thought I wanted to be a forest ranger. That did not work out, because otherwise I wouldn't be living here where I am. I tried college, and I was not good at college. It took me years to figure out through my early 50s. I had ADHD and I have Asperger's, so I'm caught in between those two. So, one of the things that I focus on with my Asperger's is history. It has started way back in the mid 90s when I was married. My ex wife then knew I was interested in genealogy because I had heard about my Plummer ancestors. Come over 20 years after the Pilgrims in 1633 in Spadine in Massachusetts. When I heard that, my Uncle Bill years and years ago had looked into it before the internet and all this stuff. So that kind of piqued my interest, but life gets in the way, and you want to get married, you want to settle down and start a family. That's what I wanted to do, but that didn't work out. Anyway, moving on. My ex-wife had given me for Christmas, I believe it was my first genealogy software for the computer. Well, that's where it was going to go anyway, in a computer. But before that, I had started looking up stuff, and I had found you see it, Sidney Purley's Plummer Genealogy Online, which was done like in the early 1900s. You can see this is a reprint by, but he did a lot of them. Anyway, we started looking around. Oh, I found the Plumbers, Francis Plummer, came for one of the first settlers, came to Newbury. In 1633, with his wife Ruth and his two sons Samuel and Joseph, and his two daughters, and settled here. So once I started researching that, I found out that I was a descendant of Francis Plummer through his second son Joseph. And that line, which stayed mostly for many years in Massachusetts. And the first son, Samuel, after a while, that line moved up north to New Hampshire and Maine. Not so much in Vermont, just New Hampshire and Maine. And I started doing that, and that was one of the things that I would focus on, and nothing else was doing that. I did that for a long while, and then life went on. And then once I got diagnosed with Asperger's, I get on a disability, and I didn't have to work, and I had more time and stuff, and I started doing more research off and on. I get interested in other things. So that's a little about me. So I started this channel, I think, about a year ago or more. Because I live in an area where there's a lot of old textile mills. Over here, they have turned it to condominiums or high-priced apartments or some other business. But most of the buildings are still around. I live like in stone's throw of about two or three of them. There's the Harris Mill in Coventry, which is right down the road, about maybe more than 5 minutes. The Arkwright, which is another 5 minutes away at the most. They're all around here because we've got the north and south branches of the Pawtucket River, and that's where they landed on. And that water power was the main thing. The river, the river was the power that drove those mills. So lately, I've been getting into more Plummer genealogy. Remove the light here a little bit. Yeah, not through this book. I bought this book through Amazon. It's a reprint, but it's good to have. And I also bought this other one, The Plummer System of Genealogical Enumeration of Mr. Francis Plummer of Newbury, Massachusetts, 1635, by Alvin Plummer, who is another descendant. You go through most of what's in here until he gets to his line, and it goes off on his line. But neither one is perfect. Most of this one, except for his line, has been copied from the original Pearly one. So, big thing is, do your research. Don't take anything for granted on any of these sites. These are because they're all submitted by other people, and you don't know what's good or not. Anyway, so that's that. So lately, I've been doing more of this, and I found the whole family of distant Plummer cousins that I buried in Providence in Swan Point Cemetery. So that's one of my side trips. I'm going to go and document them. They've been documented on Find a Grave, which is one of the sites that I used to do a lot of documenting graves here and there and the historical cemeteries and stuff. But I haven't done that in a long time. In fact, I looked at it the other day, and I thought it's been on almost 17 years since I've been doing that. So that's kind of amazing. But anyway, so that's another side trip. Take pictures of them and tell their story. To me, history is about, you can't have history without people. People make history. You can build the buildings, you can build the cities, but without people, it's just an empty place. So people are the history makers. They're the ones that do the things to make history. So what also I love about my siblings may not like this because they like to learn about my mother's family, the Chevrons. But the Plumbers have been here since day one, almost. They're the founders of the country. I have two ancestors in my Plummer line, father and son, who fought in the Revolutionary War in the Massachusetts militia, plus other ones that are like second and third cousins or whatever. They're all part of that. My great-great-grandfather, I forget, was in the early 50s. No, I forget how old he was, but he enlisted in the Civil War at an older age. So we've all supported this country. My father was in the military during the Korean War. My uncles were during the Second War. We were all on the, so that's why I'm interested in my Plummer genealogy and my family history, because we made history. I plan to go to Newbury and do research there and find more graves. That would be a nice weekend trip or something at one point. But anyway, so that's that. So lately, it's kind of hard to visit the mills around here. Like I said, like Arkwright, which I did a video on earlier in the week, well, late last week. I think Thursday or Friday. That has another business. There's one mill on one side of the street and one on the other. Um, and they're both owned by a new company. Sorry, take my hat off. I want to shine. Anyway, by a new company there that's testing or something. You can't get into them. I took the one on the opposite side of the river. It's not being used, but I think it's owned by the company. It's just vacant. I tried to look in there. It's couldn't see the windows look kind of like glazed over and stuff on the inside or whatever. But that one's vacant and you can't. It goes way back and stuff. Back in the day, they made book cloths, which is a special kind of cloth, and they were like one of the biggest manufacturers of it in the country at the time. Arkwright was started by the original Arkwright company. It's started by James DeWolf of Bristol. That DeWolf family, the infamous slave traders, etc., and two other partners. Eventually, DeWolf bought out those partners and he made a new mill. It burnt down at one time in the early 1800s. And he built it out of stone and wood. Let's see if I can find a picture of it. Hang on a minute. Be right back. Well, the picture that was on the screen when I first started, that was your thinking about 1860 sometimes, because that's when pictures started coming out right after, during or after the Civil War. So let's see. I can't get on here. Anyway, so that was it. Today, the remaining mills are built out of brick. Probably more, towards the late, early 19th century, whatever. I have this, all that record. Not in the early 90s or sometime in the 90s, the Rhode Island Historical Council or something, they did a whole survey on the different historical. I'm too hot. I'm gonna take my hat off. Things in the town for the historical register. So that's where a lot of my information comes from. Anyway, so I did a video on the Arkwright. I found the slit trench, but the slitway. What they used to do is a big water. I don't know if you've seen the picture of the waterfall that I put up on the Arkwright. You can't get near the waterfall because it's all gated off. They want everybody who's there on that property to fall in. You can't even get near it. But there's the biggest part of the waterfall is off to the left, off to the right of the mill by the river. And there's a small section on the right, which is all overgrown with weeds and trees and stuff. that's been there for years. What they used to do was they used to close off the main waterfall and divert the water to that to power the mills. Well, to power the mill on the other side of the river. They would pump it through the sluiceway, and then on the opposite side of the road, there's a small building which is the original pump house. They used to pump the water into the other mill. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah. So I'm trying to figure out how to do the best with that. I mean, I can't get into the buildings. I can only show you from stuff from the outside, and I can just give you the history. I'm working on a PowerPoint presentation, making that a video card. I might integrate them both, but it takes me time to do things. And those are one of the things I've been working on. I'm gonna do a whole mill series and stuff. I'm still gonna do one of the original things I did was I remember this, The Lost Soul. I did a series on that, and I met the author, Les Ralston, who's in a nursing home now. He can't do anything, but he told me about it and stuff, and I'm still looking to do something with that. So many projects yet. That's why I called it Rhode Island's Hidden History, because there's a lot of hidden history here that we don't know about. But that's one thing. Also, the Edward Taylor family, the colored Civil War soldier that's buried in sorry, screen that's buried in that same cemetery as this Confederate soldier. I'm still researching his family. It's just me. I have 7,000 something subscribers, but I only see a bit of them, and I do the research. I take my little GoPro 11 here and do some filming, or try to download it, and it's just So I've been trying to work on some other stuff. I'm on Facebook, Patreon, all that crap. Hope you checked out my podcast on Discover Rhode Island. That's pretty neat. I'm gonna be start doing my own podcast like this eventually, maybe once a month. So anyway, that's some of the things I've been up to. I've been also working on some marketing stuff on Teespring, t-shirts and coffee cups and stuff. I got a couple of things up there, but not much, I'm slow thinking. Well, not slow. I get a lot of ideas, but it takes me a long time to do them because I get bogged down. So that's what it is. Anyway, I wanted to put my face out there and tell you about myself. What else has been going on that I've been doing or thinking about doing? One of these days, I'm going to plan a trip to do the Lafayette, Washington trek up from Newport up to Virginia. I think that's where they went. Goes all through here, Rhode Island, because they landed here in Newport. That's another thing. I got a lot of interest. I just got to find time and energy and momentum to do them. So can't believe I've been talking for almost 20 minutes. That's pretty good for me. Anyway, well, I get plenty of subscribers. I need views, and views are tough to get. I mean, it's just me, and I have my limitations. So stick with me. Support me. Give me some likes and subscribes when you see my stuff online. That's much appreciated. And I'll talk to you later. Or maybe not. Uh, so the flag, I like to ride my bike when I can. The flag behind me, that was on my father's coffin. I have that and bullets. He was a Navy veteran of the Korean War, so he's buried with honors. I know some channels have their own, you know, camera guys, whatever. I'm my own camera guy. I think that's the best way to do it. I don't have the ability to, pop out stuff every week. It takes me a long time to do it, so hang with me, and I appreciate people who subscribe and watch on my Facebook channel, Rouse Hidden History. Sandra, if you're out there listening, thank you. Everyone else, check in, and Rhode Islanders, please support me, and I'll see you back later. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you.